Hello.
My name is Sima, and I'm front-end engineer at a banking platform company called Backbase. And next to me is my friend Noer, who is the education director at Hacky Future. But this talk is not going to be about what we do. It will be about where we and people like us grew up in, where we grew up in, and where we are going to be. It's going to be about the environment and how people grew up in an environment with so many open doors. And other people grew up in an environment with some of those doors closed. And some, unfortunately enough, they grew up with an environment with as many doors as possible. Let me start with a story. I grew up in Syria, and some people think that we still use camels for transportations. We don't, even though they look fast. Yeah. Before the war, I was living a normal, happy life with my family around me. And I was studying computer science. And after college, I used to hang out with my friends in a cafe nearby. So life was good. And then it started. At first, I thought it would be like 1 week issue and then it will be solved. But it wasn't. I first realized war started when I left my home. The area I lived in was very dangerous, and I had to leave my house away. And when I got back, my house was almost destroyed. I've always wanted to be a front-end developer, but I couldn't. Because of the war, it was very unsafe. At first, I thought like there's no way out, and my husband was away in the Netherlands. He was also facing some difficulties. See, when he moved here, he was immediately put in a refugee camp. And for us, it seemed like it lasted forever. And then he heard about this small coding school. They claimed to give him a free education for programming, and then after 7 months program, they will help him find a job. Could this be an open door for us? And then he finished the program. And after 7 months, he found a great job. I was so proud of him, and especially that this could be an opportunity to finally see him. And it was. When I moved here, I thought that this is my chance to start my life all over again and pursue my dream. So I also joined this coding school, and this coding school called Hacky Future, which is the same coding school that my husband graduated from. After 7 months program, I found an internship, and then after this internship, it led to a job, and then I got my first contract. I was so happy. I felt so settled, and I felt like this is the place to start. And this could be my chance to take over my life again.
Sima's story is exceptional, but it's not the norm. Let me tell you another story. This story is about a girl. Let's call her Sandra. All Sandra ever wanted to do was dance. Born on a tiny island in the Caribbean, she was born into a big family. Every other day after work, her father would help her throw a block party, inviting anyone around town to their house for a good time. Life was good. Until one unfortunate day. Sandra and her family went out swimming. Back then, they didn't have any access to technology to predict bad weather. So, they just decided to go. They packed up all their stuff and went straight to the beach. Once there, a big party erupted. Within seconds, you could smell the fresh aromas of freshly grilled barbecue meat. You could hear children playing around cheerfully, and everything seemed just fine. Suddenly, a strong current came up. And then another. It became increasingly more violent. Sandra's father saw this and felt the immediate urge to get everybody as far away from the water as possible. He started to scream and yell, trying to get the children out of the water. It took some time, but eventually he managed to do it. Everybody was safe, but there was one person missing. He didn't make it. Sandra was 6 years old. This event changed family dynamics forever. Sandra's father was the cornerstone of the family, but with him gone, everything disintegrated. Now, with the father gone, Sandra and her young siblings were forced to live with their old grandmother. Her own mother, soon after, left because she found another man in the Netherlands. Now, life was very hard for the girl. Without her father's and her mother's guidance, she wasn't able to deal with her life. Her grandmother was old and fragile, and she couldn't last many years. So, after she died, Sandra was forced to make a decision. On the one hand, she could make it out on her own on the harsh streets. Or she could choose to move to another country to visit her mother. She chose the latter. Here she was, 14 years old, with little to no middle school experience, moving to a faraway foreign country all by herself. She went and she expected a warm welcome from her mother. But this didn't happen. Instead, she was met with resentment. How dare she come and bring along with her all these horrible memories? Well, as you can imagine, the girl didn't take this well. So, she ran away from home. She started to hang out on the streets. She started to get into a relationship with a terribly abusive man, who at a certain point didn't even let her out of the house. Eventually, she even bared this man's children. All the while, not being able to, or even seeing the utility of, getting an education and bettering herself. The theme of this girl's life was trauma, one after the other. And in case you haven't noticed, this girl is my mother. And she unfortunately never really made it out of her situation. Now, we don't want to tell you these stories to seek pity. These are mere illustrations of real stories that you don't hear about. These stories are usually overly dramatized and made into a caricature in the media. For example, if you type in the word refugee into Google, what do you see? Well, I'll tell you what you see. You'll see a bunch of sad-looking people cooped up in a dirty room just waiting. Or you'll see a bunch of sad, crying children wearing an orange life vest trying to cross the Mediterranean. Is that who they are? No, it's not. Each one of them has a backstory. Each one of them has their own fears, hopes, and dreams, just like the rest of us that are sitting comfortably in this room. In the end, we're all just ordinary humans. But some of us get into deep shit. Horrible stuff happens, and we are forced to deal with it. And the tough part is, not everybody makes it. Why is that?
Before the war, I was living just a normal life, just like anyone else. I used to go to college and hang out with friends, and I had a good relationship with my family. And if life would go the same as I've planned, then my life would be just fine. But it wasn't. When the war came, it forever changed me. I always wanted to be a developer, but now I can't. So I cannot continue with my dreams. All these doors that I thought that I had are now closed. And then I found out about this school, where I feel welcomed and where I feel like I can belong. And this was because this school didn't treat me like a poor refugee. They treat me like a normal person, no labels, just a person. That's me acting normal there. What was even better, that now I have skills that could open so many doors for me.
For centuries, people have been debating about how lives end up the way they do. Is it nature or nurture? Well, in a way, you and I, we are all a product of our environment. Probably at some point in your life, you've broken a bone. This was painful, but with time, it healed. But when it healed, it probably never really returned back to normal. Maybe the muscles around the bones behaved a little bit differently, perhaps less effectively. These things are unfortunate, but unsurprising. However, as a society, we look very differently at emotional trauma. War and poverty can change us, often for the worse. And while we do have established procedures to deal with physical trauma, we can't say the same for our inner lives. Take the story of Sandra. When she was young, she lost her father. Then soon after, her mother left, leaving her helpless and alone. Somebody who's been through these experiences, it leaves marks. She didn't ever have any good guidance or influences, so she ended up hanging with the wrong kind of people. Is it any surprise then that she didn't learn how to make the right decisions? How can you ever expect that? Some people grow up in environments with many open doors. Some in environments with some of those doors closed, but still available. And others, unfortunately enough, grow up in environments that just don't have that many doors. Human beings are social animals, and a big part of success in life comes from our connection to others. As the saying goes, your network is your net worth. But what if you don't have a network? What if you're stuck in a refugee camp, just waiting months, if not years, before you can even get permission to stay, with little access to anybody there to give you a step up? Or if you do have access, but you have no idea how to deal with that, because you're blocked by these traumatic experiences that you couldn't do anything about. Or, even worse, if you've been brainwashed that you can only ever do something for yourself if somebody else gave you permission. These things close doors. Or even worse, make you blind to their very existence. Now, in life, it's more helpful to be solutions-oriented. Anyone can point out a problem, but few also offer solutions. They might not be perfect, but it's a start. Us developers, we know that feeling all too well. The first solution is never the best solution, and that's okay. So, for many people, a big way to change and improve their lives is to find meaningful work. But not all work is created equal. For example, when my mom came here, she tried what she could to make the best out of her life. But emotional trauma had blinded her for the many open doors around her. Combined with a lack of education and an inability to make the right social connections, she was forced to settle for the most joyless of jobs. For her, there was no other option. But while she couldn't do the best for herself, she did manage to create a door for someone else, for her son. At first, her son was just as blind. His mother's background had had a big ripple effect on him. When he was 16, he had to start working to support the family. He had one shitty job after another, and it didn't make him happy nor wealthy. When he was at the end of his rope, at that point, he heard something interesting. That it was possible to create a respectable job out of nothing. All that was needed was some willpower, some time, and the internet. This job was software development. This job was a door. Now, this is the beautiful thing about code. And I'm going to quote one of our very first students, one of the very first graduates of Hack Your Future here. Code doesn't care about who writes it, but what matters is that it works. And there are many people out there with untapped potential who might be willing to learn how to do this as well. This is the idea behind Hack Your Future. Back in 2016, we saw two challenges. The first was that there was a steady influx of refugees coming into the Netherlands. Yearly, about 7,000 plus people, these could be doctors, accountants, lawyers, with a lot to give, come in to find a better life. But they want to give, but they're not able to. Instead, they're put into refugee camps. Instead, they're told to wait months, if not years, before they can even get permission to stay. So, they wait, and they waste their potential. This is a serious problem. The second thing that we saw happening was that there was a steady uprising of demand for developers and other positions in the IT sector. Business people finally started to see the potential and the importance of using technology to improve their businesses. But where to find the right people? Programming is hard, and finding enough capable people isn't an easy job to do. We at Hack Your Future saw this happening and thought, you know what? Let's combine these two things. On the one hand, we've got a pool full of talent, but with a lack of opportunity. On the other, we have a labor market that's screaming for talent with an abundance of opportunity. Let's combine them together. And that's what we did. Now, you might be wondering, Hack Your Future? You might be wondering how we did this. Well, let me tell you how we did this. We first went in with a business mindset. What would provide the most value to the industry? Well, that was very clear. Competent, adequate developers. So we spent time talking to many IT professionals. We tried to figure out what are the essential skills needed for this job. We got a bunch of different volunteers, IT professionals who started to believe in the mission, and they helped us. They advised us to focus on web development. And with their help, we created a nice 7-month course that still works to this day. These are all the developers. Some of them are even in this room. I don't see them, but that's okay. Next, education vision. How are we going to do this? Well, it's very simple. We wanted to put the student in a position where they're able to exploit their full potential, meaning they should have the full responsibility of their progress. So, 6 days in a week, we provide all the tools and materials, but they have to do the work. And then on that one day, which is the Sunday, they all come together, the volunteers come together, and class is being taught. In this way, we can ground their experience. In this way, they learn how to also create a job out of nothing. They learn how to create new doors for themselves. Exactly. Very serious people. Now, you might be wondering, what are the results? And we believe that a school is only worth as much as its results. And with great joy in my heart, I can say that over the past 4 years, we've graduated about 120 people and have successfully gotten them a job. These are some of the highlights. Now.
At the moment, we are running a campaign. It aims to reframe the conversation about how it's like to be, or what does it mean to be a refugee. It's called Behind the Source. We've collected the 7 stories of our graduates, including myself, and turned them into code. I'll show you to see what I mean.
We didn't feel safe in my country. I had a lot of bombs around my house, on my building. So I came here.
But here I realized that I have to start from scratch. I was always thinking to have the chance to be a developer.
Hack Your Future was the date to start.
I remember like this very well. That was my first line of code, and that was the moment I felt I'm actually becoming a web developer.
I was flying because I got a job and what I want.
It was real, and I saw the contract.
It's very hard to be part of society. Not something we need to plug it.
If you wish to read more about the articles about the stories, you can find them in the website of the company listed here. You just click to the view beige source, and then you will find them.
And if you want to hear the video with sound next time,
Yeah, we need to remember to plug it. But
you can also just go to the website, hackyourfuture.net, and you can find the same video. Now, before we go, we want to mention one final thing. Over the last 4 years, we've noticed that a lot of companies in the tech sector like to talk about diversity and inclusion. Plenty of talks and events are organized and speeches are given. And that's a great start. But we believe that for real change to happen, more action is needed. We have created Hack Your Future as one way to make that happen. This has been our way to create doors for those that just don't have that many. Because in the end, we believe that for society to function well, we all need to put our hands together without judgment. Because only then, only in collaboration, can we ever make this real. Thank you so very much.
thank you.
Wonderful. Great, thank you.
Wow. Well,
So, who wants to? Oh, sorry.
no, please, please.
So, who wants to see the video with audio this time? Anybody?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Even een paar slides terug.
We didn't feel safe in my country. I had a lot of bombs around my house, on my building. So I came here.
But here I realized that I have to start from scratch. I was always thinking to have the chance to be a developer.
Hack Your Future was the gate to start.
I remember like this, hello world, that was my first line of code, and that was the moment I felt I'm actually becoming a web developer.
I was flying because I got a job and what I want. It was real and I saw the contract.
It's very rewarding to be productive, to be part of society, to build something and other people use it, really.
Great. Thank you so much.